if we need to unpack data from two or more iterables, and unpacking in Python means that we extract values from two or more iterables, from two or more containers in parallel. That means we take one element from the first list, for example, if we are going to use two lists, another element from the second list, one by one, one from A, one from B, for example. Now, here in this example, we are using two iterables, which are the keys and values. So actually, we have one dictionary. However, we are separating the keys in one iterable and the values in another iterable. So we want to extract the values one by one. Now, the function which we are using here is called zip. So the zip function takes two or more arguments. The first one is the one associated with the numbers, so we call the variable number. And the second is the name of the gas, let's call it gas, in zip. And then, of course, gases dot keys. And the second gases dot values. We don't forget the colon. Maybe colon is not here, so I think we need to add the colon to the slide. So don't forget the colon, and then we print enter and print now numbers and the gas names. Let's check. Here we have a small polynomial with given values. Consider each term as an x multiplied by a coefficient a and raised to the power n and divided by a value or the denominator d. So for that reason, as we see here, we can create three lists. Each list contains one of these elements: coefficients, powers, and finally we have the denominators and initial value. And this is very, very important. Never forget the initial value when you have an incremental or summation loop. And usually, if you don't define an initial value, the Python interpreter will give you error message if the value of p, for example, is not defined before. Now, let's go to the interpreter and start entering the values. Now, let's write the code for the loop. So for A, N, and D, so A is the iterator, which will go through the list of the coefficients, A capital. N is the iterator, which will go through the list of exponents, N, and D, the iterator of the list of denominators or the values where the terms are divided by. In, now we use the zip function and A, N, comma, D, and then P plus equal A multiplied by x to the power n and divided by d. Now let's go and see what is the value of p here. The second function is called enumerate. Now, enumerate actually is an integer counter of iterations which produces values in parallel with the iterator which goes through the iterable like list or a dictionary. Now, let's try this list. We want to create a numerator. So the numerator E, so E always takes the values of the numerator. So this is the sequence, E and the iterator, or I of the, so the iterator must be the second in this order. So the I is the variable which takes the elements of L one by one. Print E, comma, I. Let's check. So the first column, as you see, is the values of the numerator. 0 to last one is the 7. Now, the numerator starts by default from 0, but you can start it from 1, as we see in the next example, or any other value. Notice that each number has the power indicates its location in this summation series. So if we write the list, so we don't need to make two lists here, because we see that the powers actually are going in a regular sequence, so we can just create a list for the bases or the values. Now, again, we don't forget the initial value of S, of summation, 0, and then for P is the value from the numerator, which represents the power of each term, and T is the value of each term, is the base in each term. So in this way, in A, now here we add 1, which is the starting value of the enumerator. So as you see here, the start value by default is 0, but we can change it. So we can say A, comma 1. So A is the iterable, while 1 is the start value of the enumerator. And we say S plus equal T to the power P. Let's print here. Let's make a print inside the loop in order to be, so the first value, let's say P, T, comma, let's add a tab distance in order to make it the values clearer, and S. So as you see here, the first column is the values of P, so the powers, and as we see, it went from 1 to 6 correctly. Then we have the bases or the numbers given in the list, and then we have the summation of the power of each term. So the first 3 to the power 1 is 3. 4 to the power 2 is 16, so 16 and 3, 19, and so on.